that bill that just left the Senate has all these pages in it to pay for things like this.
Very soon, this facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. We're surrounded by miles of treacherous swampland, and the only way out is really deportation. This is an amazing thing that they've done here.
But listen, people don't have to come here. If they self-deport and go home, they can come back legally. We will let them come back legally.
And there is a lot of self-deportation.
Yes. But if you wait and we bring you to this facility, you don't ever get to come back to America.
There's not much waiting for them other than alligators and pythons. Nowhere to go, nowhere to hide.
They have a lot of bodyguards and a lot of cops that are in the form of alligators. You don't have to pay them so much. But I wouldn't want to run through the Everglades for long.
Holding immigrants in a detention camp in the middle of the Florida summer, in the middle of the Everglades swamp, in the middle of hurricane season, in a bunch of tents with no adequate infrastructure, running water. It's just horrific.
Alligator Alcatraz. I mean, it's one of those things that they were talking about during the campaign as well. He wants to open up Alcatraz. Maybe that was right afterwards. He wants to expand prisons. He wants to continue the cruelty of things like this. So they built this rickety place in like a week or so. Threw it up together in the Florida Everglades with the help of Ron DeSantis. We're going to get to him in a second. They threw up the Alligator Alcatraz and threw all this merch, as you saw, and AI pictures of alligators with ice hats on, because that's so cool and so funny. The whole point of this is the cruelty. And by the way, that whole point when Kristi Noem was standing there inside of that this concentration camp that we just built with your money, that they're asking for billions more to do more of this. She said, if people could self-deport, they could just come back and do it the legal way. So when they say things like that, and then you actually believe it, pay attention to the reality where people who are doing it right, and then walk into the immigration hearings doing it right, get taken up, snatched away, and deported, because that's how they're working. Because that's their approach to these things. They want to send people here so they can continue to make money off it, because people have money involved in this. One of those people that has money involved in this, his name is Stephen Miller. He's an effing Nazi, and he goes on TV every time to show you guys how much of an effing Nazi he is. He wants much more of this.
I want to go to every Republican state. Now, of course, in a sane country, Democrats would do it too, but they love the illegals. They hate the Americans. We want every governor of a red state, and if you're watching tonight, pick up the phone, call DHS, work with us to build facilities in your state so that we can get the illegals out, we can get the criminals out. And also, very importantly, Laura, we need Congress to pass the big, beautiful bill which contains the funding that ICE desperately needs to carry out the mass deportation agenda.
Now, we reach out to other states, Stephen, and a lot of them are open to helping. Alaska told us that we don't have alligators, but we have lots of bears. However, they aren't aware of any plans for an Alaska version of bear. I said bear Alcatraz. So, Stephen, there's good news there.
Bear Alcatraz, because Lisa Murkowski signed on to it. He wants more of these in only red states. I'm trying to figure out, remember the whole argument about how Democrats are so divisive and they're dividing the country, but these guys talk about red states all the time and how they're going to get the right legislation, even though they siphon money off of the rest of the country, especially those big blue states and cities that they dog out all the time, because they're welfare queens. Those states to continue to build things like this trash facility. By the way, I want to point out something that happened at it. Christopher Webb pointed this out. just a little bit of light rain in Florida in the Everglades, and it swept into the front damn door right where they're trying to do their whole press conference with the American flags and everything standing behind them. So this place in the middle of hurricane season, as that activist pointed out at the end of that Al Jazeera video, they're going to plan on putting thousands of people in these facilities. And they said it's so air conditioned, but it's already flooding from some light rain down in Florida. I mean, as long as it doesn't rain again in Florida, I think they'll be okay. But they don't give a damn. So this concentration camp that's rickety and falling apart because they threw it together in 8 days, which they were calling impressive. We'll find out how impressive it is as the flooding starts happening and the disaster goes on, and they kind of don't give a damn about these folks' lives. We'll see where it goes next. It might be part of the plan. Just leave a hole open and so we can escape ourselves. And we're surrounded by all this wildlife that we also don't give a damn about. Ron DeSantis is standing next to Donald Trump, who completely took everything from him, made him look like an absolute a-hole. But he's standing next to him and kissing his ass. And he's going to change things in his state to make sure he continues to drop to a knee and kiss his left ass cheek.
Offering up our National Guard and other folks in Florida to be deputized to be immigration judges. We're working with the Department of Justice for the approvals. I'm sure Pam will approve. But then I'll have a National Guard judge advocate here. Someone has a notice to appear. Biden would tell them to come back in 3 years and appear. Now you'll be able to appear in like a day or two. So they're not going to be detained, hopefully, for all that long. We'll have people here in this facility that can make, it's a bureaucracy. The president's got to deal with the bureaucracy. Now, that Supreme Court ruling was good because that's going to allow him to be able to exercise Article 2 the way founders intended. But you still have bureaucracy. So we want to cut through that so that we have an efficient operation between Florida and DHS to get the removal of these illegals done.
They're going to hurry up the process and turn National Guard members into immigration judges. Just turn them into immigration judges. Who knows what their background is? Who knows if they have any legal authority to do something like this? Who cares? It's a dictatorship. These are fascists. Who cares about processes? They've got this lady, Pam Bondi at DOJ, that he said, and I'm sure the DOJ is going to approve it. All I have to do is say, yeah, Donald Trump wants it. That same lady who wouldn't answer during her confirmation hearings, whether or not she would just follow Trump's orders blindly. I mean, I really can't say that. What I'm going to do is stand for the rule of law. So as she changes the rule of law and allows Ron DeSantis to shift over National Guard members into immigration judges so they can rush through this process and disappear people to wherever the hell they want. Of course, with the help of the Supreme Court, who gave them this third country option to send people to as well. It's good old America, right? Even as they send off American citizens, because they kind of just don't care who they get rid of and call them criminals and rapists and drug dealers. But Ron DeSantis is going to help them out. Former military guy. And the way that they've scared enough people into doing this type of stuff is they tell these boogeyman stories. Oh, it's the worst thing ever. Did you know what they did? Here, God, I can't stand her. Kristi Noem. Let's see if this works. Kristi Noem was giving us some horror stories about what it is that these bad guys are doing. Remember, Donald Trump went down the escalator talking about rapists, drug dealers, and murderers. Remember that? It's expanded. Because in case you guys aren't afraid enough, in case you guys aren't shaking in your boots like some toddlers waiting for the boogeyman to come out from under the bed, Kristi Noem has another story.
The other day I was talking to some marshals that have been partnering with ICE. They said that they had detained a cannibal and put him on a plane to take him home. And while they had him in his seat, he started to eat himself. And they had to get him off and get him medical attention. These are the kind of deranged individuals that are on our streets in America.
These are deranged individuals. We took up a pic. I talked to some random ICE guy. I'm not going to give any names or any kind of news stories about it, but we took this guy off the street and he's a cannibal. We put him in the back seat. Bro, he started eating his chest. Isn't it crazy? It's crazy. Actually, you know what? It is Kristi Noem. It is crazy. And when she got a chance to talk about it again, she's still saying that's. I've almost cussed like 6 times today. She almost said that stupid mess. Listen to her.
In fact, President Trump, since he's been in office, has removed almost 600 known and suspected terrorists, thousands of violent criminals, individuals that are murderers and rapists and drug traffickers, human traffickers. And I talked today about one of the horrific instances of our individuals, our law enforcement officers, having to put hands on individuals that were even cannibals and removing them from our country. These are deranged individuals that other countries released out of their prisons, out of their mental institutions and sent them to America to roam on our streets and perpetuate violence against our citizens. President Trump is just trying to follow through on what he promised the American people, and that's to get the worst of this worst out of this country so that they can raise their children in safety and apply the law equally to everyone, bring justice back to America, secure our border, but also get these dangerous criminals out. And I'm just so proud of him. This facility down in Florida is what I think should be the model for every single state. Go out there and help us partner to provide an opportunity to detain these individuals, to process them under due process, and get them out of our country as fast as possible. These kind of partnerships can happen everywhere. We just need governors and leaders to step up and do their jobs.
As you can see, the whole purpose was to sell this facility. And in order to sell this facility, you have to continue telling that propaganda BS story about some cannibal that started eating himself because, what's happened is all these countries have unleashed their attacks on America and sent their violent criminals to our shores to do this to us. That's been the plan from the beginning. I can't believe they did that. I mean, because America has no violent, white, cisgendered Christian people who assault young children on a regular basis. We've seen stats on who the biggest numbers of these types of things are while they demonize trans and LGBTQ folks. While they do all that, the real criminals that are happening and run around the streets doing these things, the couple thousand that Donald Trump released from January 6th terrorism that they pulled off. Remember that? Those folks that, they're unleashing other violent criminals onto our streets, and we have to make sure these cannibals, these effing cannibals, they were eating the dogs and the cats during the campaign. Now they're eating themselves. It's these illegals coming in, and we have to get rid of them because they're not eating themselves. Until it's those Americans that Donald Trump wants to get rid of, the ones that probably push back against his authoritarianism like a fascist would. Listen to him. Don't listen to me. Listen to him.
A little controversial, but I couldn't care less. We have a lot of bad criminals that came into this country, and they came in stupidly. It was an unforced error. It was an incompetent president that allowed it to happen. It was an auto pen maybe that allowed it to happen, and it did happen. But we also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time, people that whack people over the head with a baseball bat from behind when they're not looking and kill them, people that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here, too. You want to know the truth. So maybe that'll be the next job that we'll work on together. But I think getting them out, we forget about them. We had some bad accidents in New York, and they're not accidents.
So all those folks with TDR during the campaign that said that Donald Trump is going to come for American citizens next. The reasons why those folks with TDR said that is because this guy named Donald Trump said he's coming for American citizens next during the campaign. Maybe it was right when he got elected, but I'm pretty sure it was during the campaign. The tail end of it. But now that he's in office and he's saying, by the way, people who hit people on the back of the head with baseball bats, we're going to send them away too. Where are you going to send them to? Just made up countries or those concentration camps and those CCOT type of prisons that you've made arrangements with other countries with more of our taxpayer money to pay foreign prisons to take in Americans, kind of like a fascist would. They can be offended by the term, but I'm more offended by the actions of fascism than they are by the term of being called exactly what they are. Please, it's just so simple. Just stop with the following of this madness. He's telling you what he wants to do, but until it happens and knocks on your front door, who cares? Once you're there, once you're sitting in their prisons and you're one of the bad guys because they told you that you are, say you die. Maybe your 75-year-old grandfather or your father dies there in prison and he ain't done nothing wrong. You know what Tom Homan, the border czar, the mass deportation czar is going to do? You know what he's going to do now? He's going to not give a hot damn about your life.
Reports of a 75-year-old Cuban national who died in ICE custody. He had lived in the United States for 60 years. He was being held in ICE detention in Florida. Is there anything you can tell us about that? There's still not a lot of information, how he died.
I'm unaware of that. I'm not aware of that. I mean, people die in ICE custody. People die in county jails. People die in state prisons. I mean, if you look at, when I was ICE director and we drilled down that, the question should be how many lives does ICE save? Because when they go into detention, we find many with diseases and stuff that we deal with right away to prevent death. So I'm not aware of that specific case, but I'll say this. People can argue with me all they want, but the facts are the facts.
Who cares? Who cares? People die in prison all the time. People die on the streets all the time. People just die. And if we've illegally arrested and imprisoned someone and they die in our custody, who cares? Who cares? Isn't that weird? How his life means nothing, But when the United Healthcare CEO was murdered, biggest news. I can't believe they would do this to an important life. But our entire system, by the way, when people talked about systemic racism and the system coming after certain people, this guy represents the system that comes after certain people. That's just how that works.